Good evening. Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 10. That's right. We have made it to episode 10 of the Wireheads podcast. And,
all right. Yeah, I'm excited.
I'm Diamond Dust. And go ahead.
Hi, I'm Emmerron. I also work here, I think.
Wait, we get paid?
This is on Twitch, at least.
I mean, fair enough.
Yeah.
But anyway, we're Wireheads, we're Netrunners, we're fans of the game Cyberpunk RED. And you know, Cyberpunk RED, it's a wonderful game about a shitty time with shitty neighbors and shitty food and shitty weather and awful jobs, corporate oppression, unwelcoming
at least we
architecture.
have friends. Sometimes we have friends in
that
the middle
might
of all this
backstab you as well.
That's true.
And also where one Eddie can't buy you anything, but 5 Eddies can buy you a trading card. So, my question that I brought to the table: why do we enjoy the struggle of cyberpunk? So, let's take this all the way back to the 1980s. So, way back in the wee old times, before the 90s, before my existence and before Emmerron's existence. At least if I am to
no, I was not around in the 80s at all. No. Like 92, baby. That was me.
So, way back then, first edition of Cyberpunk was written in, what was it, 87, 88?
Yeah, something like that. I know when 2020 was written, but I don't remember when 2013 was written. I think it was 88 if I'm remembering. I can Google it while you go on, Vamp, by all means, but
back then, Mike Pondsmith wrote Cyberpunk: A View from the Edge, which is also lovingly called Cyberpunk 2013, because that's kind of the year that it supposedly takes place in. So, Mike was trying to send a warning, a story, whatever you want to call it, of a dark future that is to come. And that dark future included, great things like flying cars, pop-up weapons, drugs, cyberpsychosis, and other horrible mental illnesses to rack your edgerunners' brains.
Those are fun too.
Also, corporate oppression, because it was still a far cry, but yet a reflection of our current, of our times. Especially because Arasaka, was a portrayal of, what the U.S. saw was a threat to their capitalism when, Japan was having an economic boom back in the 80s. But, we also got great things back in the 80s as well. Music, big hair, rock and roll. Thus, the rocker boy was born. And
workout tapes, can't forget those.
Also, the Breakfast Club, or at least I think. No, actually.
Was it before that? Maybe.
No, I don't know. I think the Breakfast Club was produced back in the 80s.
Well, I've confirmed the date of and so did LCC in chat here. It was 88 for
88
for the first edition of Cyberpunk. The Breakfast Club was the 80s. It was 1985.
All right. Oh yeah, Bowling for Soup mentioned that in their hit song 1985. But
right, exactly.
Anyway, there was some great stuff to come out of the 80s, including Cyberpunk. But Cyberpunk told a tale of a dark future where our timeline, the world, the United States as we know it, goes to shit, falls apart. We've told the tale again and again. Now, it's 2045. we're looking outside of our cargo containers and cube hotel rooms and watching as the blood rain pours its stinky liquid self all over the streets for us to go out, get poisoned by, and we just munch on basically the equivalent of dog food. Kibble. And there is something about telling tales of struggling through this that just appeals to me in a way that I just, oh gosh, it's like watching the growth, the rise and fall of edge runners. There's something about watching that roller coaster again and again that, you know, each story spins up different emotions: love, happiness, joy,
hatred for corporations,
hatred for individuals, hatred for fixers, hatred for your boss who throws you under the bus to other fixers, hatred for your neighbor who plays your music just a little too loud, and hatred for
the neighbor that replaces them and definitely doesn't work for Rival Corp, not a little bit.
Mm-hmm. And also hatred for a city that hates you just as much.
Pretty much.
So, with that in mind, it was to understand Cyberpunk RED. What feels good about it, though, and I want to clarify that and make it very, very abundantly clear that we don't condone acts of violence IRL. Don't do it. Don't feel like you need to take it out on someone else. But there's something, as someone who worked as a security guard in probably one of the harder times for the security industry, the pandemic, when people got nasty and violent with you. Hell, I had a woman spit in my eye. I'm lucky I didn't get COVID and have a fucked up eye after that. There's something about when, you know, a booster ganger pushes you just a little too far and you make their head pop. There is something satisfying about it. That you get the ability in the combat zone to just make someone disappear.
The thing tonight where you had like random, so for those of you who are coming to this without having also come from Diamond's game, those of you who are here with us live, because we do her game right before Wireheads. I play an exec in one of the games that happened on Wednesday night on Diamond's channel. And that exec tonight was invited to the big table with a lot of the power players of Night City. And there's one guy who rolled in who's made our whole group's lives hell for like the last like 4 or 5 sessions, I think. And we were pretty much done with him. And the fact that he just walks in all cavalier and is like, yeah, you really want to shoot me, don't you, Larry? You really want to fuck me up. I'm like, yeah, I kind of do. But also I know better than to do that first. And then he draws on me. I'm like, well, there's the excuse. And I just pull a shotgun on his ass. So yeah, that was immensely satisfying, I will say, to be like, oh, I'm not touching you, die now. And it's like, I don't think I will, actually. That part of Cyberpunk is incredibly satisfying. Absolutely.
Well, I suppose what's also satisfying is, and as a GM watching this, when I throw the most heinous shit at you guys, whether that be biodrones, whether that be, you know, corporate hit squads. Hell, for one group, Pacifica Man had a little too many drugs one night. And, well, see you guys overcome the challenges of that, including some strange ones like that lubed up pig exotic that was over at Birdfest.
Yeah, no, the
pig
Birdfest is big. That is a big middle finger to the corporations that they somehow are okay with happening. I kind of really I like the idea of Burnfest. Burnfest is fun.
And the thing is, though, sure, you got all that great stuff, but there is always that struggle that one day you're gonna lose it all. You are fighting every day as an edge runner to stay on the right side of it, so that way you don't fall off.
It was kind of crazy tonight to feel that from the exec side, because like we've talked before, and this might be slightly tangential, but like I do want to just
no, I think it fits for the exec struggle.
Yeah, but I like, part of this is I want to commend you for really pushing that line of play and struggle, because I was just like, damn, I don't know if I would have cooked that same way, because like, damn, it was impressive because of just how, like, so for those of you who weren't in our game, just to give you the scene, right? Rex Royale's Midnight Market, and Larry's at the table. My exec is Uncle Larry. Larry's at the table with the heads of several corporations and large booster gangs within the city. And they're all there to discuss business. And a big chunk of that is this gas attack that's happened recently. And of course, in Black Chrome, in the core rulebook, there is one of the most powerful fixers in Night City. The most powerful, you might say, is Mr. Kernigan, Mr. K. He is incredibly powerful, and this man is throwing accusations my way, which are true, but I'm not gonna let him know that, of me stealing a gun. And I didn't know that it was destined for his hands, but whatever, right? The fact is, I stole it in a way. Like, I took it off a dead dude's hands and then gave it to my corp, and I was like, here, see what R&D can do with this. And it's landed me in a whole pile of shit. So what's a cornered exec to do but lie and just say, no, I didn't take that? Absolutely not. Why would you accuse me of that? Danger Gal comes in and is like, here's the evidence, and it's my boss saying I did it. And I'm like, all right, is that it? And like, I think I surprised you, Diamond, when I was just so blatant, like, is that it?
Oh, you did.
So like, just some words from a guy who you've clearly put under duress. Like, of course he's gonna sell my ass out. What else is he gonna do? Yeah. So do you have anything stronger than that? And like, Diamond's like, all right, roll face down, roll persuasion, roll all this shit. I crit, I pass, I get through. I even beat Mr. K in a face down, and she just like, how the fuck is he doing this? And I'm just sitting there smug in my seat like, so if we're done talking about the fucking gun you're missing, please, let's get on to actual business, and you'll tell us exactly what the hell is happening here. Like, oh my God. It was, yeah, as LCC says in my chat, built different. Yeah, that was unfucking believable. I didn't even believe I'd get away with all that, but I'm like, I have to try. Like, what am I gonna do? Like, just roll over and accept it? No, absolutely not. So I felt like an edge runner in that room. Like, that was like, fuck, okay. Like, it's not just about being a corpo here. It's I am an edge runner corpo in this. That was wild. I never expected that to work, but it did.
And then, of course, the other edge runners have very lethal moments in the midst of the gunfire that went on.
Mm-hmm.
And
it's so cool.
Like, you know, when you have this struggle, this fight against, you know, for example, I'm gonna go with an example, like with Dia. Dia was, you know, on the run from Red Chrome Legion because, you know, that's where she originally came from before, you know, coming out. That was part of the, you know, group she was on the run from, because, you know, as a Wirehead, you're a valuable asset. You know, someone that's really good at getting into everything for you, especially when you run with a crew that with a gang that the education level might. The education level might be about as that of a public preschool in the time of the Red, in the group of these people. Maybe a little higher. I mean, they could write their slurs, but they don't know how to write the letters the right way.
Their PDs, what is it? P's, D's, Q's, and D's look kind of the same, but that's okay.
You know,
yeah, it really is, though, that kind of thing of like, yeah, like the city is looking to eat everything alive. Like Though ironically, in a weird way, Cyberpunk Red is the least shit version of Night City we've ever had for the tabletop.
Really?
It is the least shit yes, because think of it this way, right? In 2020 and 2077, the corps own everything. Like, if you're being oppressed, you are full send oppressed there, and you have to struggle tooth and nail to get out of that cycle of oppression, out from under the corpse. But the corps are at their weakest in the time of the Red. So even though the global nets are shut down and you're paying for long distance again, in terms of like your connectedness to other cities outside of your own, like, you still definitely have more individual power than you do at any other point in the timeline, solely because the corporations are on the back foot and the city is rebuilding. So it doesn't have like a firm, some districts just don't have firm identities. They're malleable, and that's very different than 2020 or 2077.
And I think also another part of that struggle, and I think this could be said for both Dia and Virgil at the end of Reaping the Reaper, which I won't get into all the details about Reaping the Reaper.
We've talked about it a lot, to be fair.
It's such an iconic mission. That is a mission that will either make or break your character in so many different ways. And when you are fighting a force that is unable to just be shot with bullets, grabbed and choked, and you have to rely on someone who has to plug in and has like very little armor and protection against that thing, there is this odds stacked against you, especially when that thing is in its prime environment. And you know, you're always going to be one foot behind, because you don't know what that thing's looking through. You don't know where it's listening. You don't know you know what's right, what's wrong. Like, you know, I guess, you know, we did cover Reaping the Reaper in with Law and Disorder, but like the first encounter with the drones, how did that one go over for you? Like
the one out at the docks, you mean?
Yeah.
I mean, it was pretty adrenaline filled. Like, we got out of there. Like, we managed to escape pretty flawlessly. I think we took a couple shots, but like nothing super serious. But yeah, I mean, it was tense, because you, like, basically the way our GM laid out the docks, it was like we're all the way back in like one corner where we picked this thing up that we're there to retrieve, and our car is like way the fuck on the other end of the pier. So like we have to work our way up, like kind of just crisscrossing through boxes, shooting down drones as we have the opportunity, before we can get there. And so like it was very tense, and we kind of like, you know, the drones are one thing, because the drones are kind of spooky and they've got a motif going, but that's about it. The first time I think we actually encountered full-on bio drones and like knew that that's what they were, like in the sushi shop, that shit was, or not the sushi shop, the V arcade.
Yeah.
When we get to the V arcade, that scene was so atmospheric. Like, props to Jay and the other kind of the writers who worked on that, because I'm not sure who specifically authored Reaping the Reaper on the freelance side of things. And I could look it up, and I oh my god, Diamond vanished.
Oh
god.
Oh fuck. Oh,
you
god.
Good? We start talking about AIs and one eats Diamond. That's
well, yeah, don't mind me. I got this. One sec.
Douchey got it.
Oh no.
Here, while you struggle your way back into net space here, let me look up real quick, because I have Tales of the Red up somewhere in my sidebar. Here it is. I'll look up the person credited, because I want to make sure that they are given credit. Unless, let me see, do we get credits for that?
I don't think we get credits for specific stories, but I'm pretty sure we could probably figure out who soon enough. You know?
Yeah, like I know, I believe they had like a blog post about it. So yeah, more to come on that, guys. But bottom line, whoever was responsible or had a hand in laying out the atmosphere and feel of the V arcade scene of Reaping the Reaper, major kudos. Like that stuff is like, that is in my opinion, a masterclass in how to set atmosphere at a table and like really define it. Oh, there she is. She's back. But that shit is so good. And I highly recommend to any aspiring GMs who want to understand like how to make horror atmospheres for Cyberpunk. That's the one. That whole beat where between getting to the V arcade and then actually exploring it, that whole beat or two that surrounds that scene is like beautifully horrific.
And then I suppose another mission that really, like, Reaping the Reaper was one of those that, like, you know, I lost my entire crew, and then it was just me left. And now, you know, now I have to figure out where do I go from here. And, you know, on top of, you know, fighting for your fucking life, you gotta pay rent, you gotta pay your lifestyle, and holy fuck, you gotta look good while you're doing all this too.
It's true.
And I think with the struggle, because, you know, because the chips get stacked against you so often in Cyberpunk, it's one of those games that, like, when you overcome, when you get past everything that's been stacked up against you, that small victory that you have feels real fucking good.
It does. I mean, if you have an arc where like everything starts piling up around you and all of a sudden you're just like on the back foot constantly, and then finally you can like, you get one up on your enemies and you can finally take a step forward and like properly fight back. That is probably one of the most like empowering things I've ever had in a TTRPG. And I think like this is a broader thing. I think, at least from my perspective on this topic, part of the reason I enjoy the struggle of Cyberpunk RED so much is because it allows you to feel this sense of victory over true challenge, and in some cases like oppression, that you just don't have in most other like power fantasies or heroic fantasies. Like, you're kind of absent that because you're not pushed to quite the same limits in most of the ones I've played in that kind of category.
And I suppose actually to bounce off of that, recently I have had a player that has opted to step away from my table because one of the feelings that Cyberpunk does invoke that I enjoy personally as both a player and a GM is dread, sickness, like that sick feeling in your stomach even though you've completed the job. At what cost? I think A Night at the Opera is a perfect one. When I did that one,
kind of do hit different.
And you know, you get that same like awful victory or like awful feeling at the end of Phantom Liberty, where sure, you got the job done. You sure got the job done.
You sure did.
You feel sick to your stomach though.
I think that there's a very good reason that like Phantom Liberty's kind of like because there's two endings that we could kind of talk about. Not that I want to talk about them at any real detail because I don't want to spoil people, But just so everyone's kind of aware, the way Phantom Liberty structures its ending is you've got an ending to the arc the DLC is telling, then you've got a arc to the entire game, like an Act 3 ending to 77 that is only unlocked if you beat Phantom Liberty. And I think you even need to beat it certain ways. Like it's not actually available to you if you take certain routes through the ending of Phantom Liberty. So there's a reason though that the end to the game that it unlocks is viewed by some people as like to me, it is the canonical ending of Cyberpunk 2077, and it's bittersweet. I view it as bittersweet. Other people view it as one of the single most tragic things the game has to offer, and it is an ending that involves the least amount of conflict. It is the ending with, I think, the absolute least amount of conflict, except for one, and we won't talk about that one. Oh boy, chicken. But yeah, that's what I have to say about Phantom Liberty's ending, and I think it really does say quite a lot about. It says quite a lot about Cyberpunk, that like the ending that some could consider to be the happiest is the one that involves no conflict but leads to like you lose everything worthwhile. Like it's you keep your life, but at what cost? Like you just described. You know, you're alive, but man, you're not living.
For me, when I look at some stories, and one of them that I thought about was Deus Ex Human Revolution.
That's a good one too.
You have, you know, the this or that situation where you cannot choose both. It is one or the other. And there is something about those kinds of ultimatums that are offered up in Cyberpunk stories that it leaves you like with that feeling of, did I make the right choice? Did I do what was correct for me? Was the journey worth it? And when I look at, again, Tales of the Red, we covered it over with Team Shock and Awe. Bathed in Red is another one of those that has ultimatums that, you know, that one does give you a few ways out. You just gotta get real good at it.
I think most of the gigs that have ultimatums at the end, at least the pre-written ones, right? And I think that this is the best way to write gigs like that, is to give many ways out, none of which are satisfying. Like never truly, that's not a true, complete, total victory, right? All endings you give something up, but what you give up is what defines the ending. And that, I think that's like the best way to write an ultimatum into your ending, in my opinion.
I suppose like another great one, we look at when we played Electric Dreams over on my channel, and I've seen different endings play out on Blade Runner Electric Dreams, and the only reason I'm talking about Blade Runner is because it also falls under Cyberpunk, genre, and it's one of the movies that inspired Mike Pondsmith to write Cyberpunk. And
I mean, it's also a great TTRPG. For any of you who like really investigation heavy ones, highly recommend that one. It's really good.
And with Blade Runner, like with the ending of Electric Dreams, there is, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There are 7 different combinations of endings that could happen that I've found so far. I guess 8 if you include everyone just dying. And I'm not gonna get into details about all of it, but some of the options that were taken were very interesting ones. But like one of the other things with the struggle of Cyberpunk that I just why would you edge run like why not like when you choose to be an edge runner, you are choosing to go against the corporate grind, the 9 to 5. You are choosing to blaze your own path. Why would it be easy?
Well, you're choosing to fight world order in a lot of cases.
Mm-hmm.
Like in the time of the Red, that's a little less true, but like there's still some truth to that. You're fighting against the order the world wants. And it's like natural status quo. In 2020 and 77, that is everything that defines an edge runner, is like you are against being oppressed. You're not going to take it lying down. And like one way or another, you're going to make your voice heard. I think that's like a big part and an important thing to kind of remember. Everyone who has a name on a drink at the afterlife did something that was so defiant of mundane life and it just accepting the order of corporations and things that they snuffed it in the most spectacular way possible, to quote Claire. And they are still talked about for doing that. So like that is what defines you. It's not how you lived, it's how you died.
You know, I and like, you know, part of that struggle is, yeah, like sometimes you have to make that decision. Is it me or is it my tombs? And, you know, like we all can, you know, think of someone like, in my case, Frankie is always going to be that first name that comes to mind. Now, I've mentioned Frankie before. Frankie was the solo of our party on the first half of Tales of the Red. And he, you know, took me in, took Dia into, you know, his cargo container, into his space, you know, willingly picked up basically this street rat of a netrunner, let her shack up with him, and, you know, they ran jobs together. And finally, when Reaping the Reaper rolled around, to understand, I was completely secluded off from everyone else. Like, I was given no ability to see or hear what was going on in the room. But it sounded like, you know, the others were like, it sounded like Frankie's player was just like, you guys need to leave. You need to take her with you. You need to go. And it, like, when it comes to the struggle, sometimes those are the choices we make. And it's not just this or that. It's, is it me or is it a greater good or a lesser evil?
Yep. No, and it's very interesting because it's like you just the kind of story Cyberpunk is trying to tell is one that the oppression is a gateway to tell a like truly great story of like human compassion, which is weird to say, right? Like the setting is one of a total disregard of like human empathy, human values. Love thy neighbor doesn't exist. Like, if anything, it's fear thy neighbor. They could be a cyber psycho. Fear thy neighbor, they could be a spy for the corpse. Fear thy neighbor, they could be, you know, anybody that you would consider an enemy. They could want what's yours and be willing to do very drastic things to take it for themselves, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like when you find people that you genuinely care about, you fall in with people that you genuinely share that bond with, and you're fighting things tooth and nail to the point of risking your lives and things, like on the other end of that is a story of human compassion and like truly like some really heartbreaking tragedy that stems from like truly loving those people. I think just recently we had a funeral, and I talked about this last week on the podcast. We had a funeral for one of our players in Neon Inferno, because they lost their character, and his new character didn't really know the crew all that well at the time, so he wasn't at the funeral. So the players sat muted while the rest of the scene played out, and he just described like, I never knew what it'd be like to be a fly on the wall at my own funeral, but now I kind of know, and that is like I was bawling my eyes out over here because like there's that genuine care that goes into like portraying the characters in that moment for like we remember our friend, you know. And it is like you don't get that from many TTRPGs that I've played. Like I haven't had a lot of those experiences, but they're always so wonderful because they remind you of what's good about the world, the real world, right? Because those bonds and things are the things that we want to celebrate. I feel like, you know, that's the thing we all want to celebrate more of.
I mean, Ak over here in my chat, it's not about saving the city, it's about saving yourself. And yeah, at the end of the day, that's what it is. That is the choices that we make. You are saving yourself and maybe those that are nearest and dearest to you, but at the cost of yourself. Hell, I mean, oh gosh, who else? What other major deaths have I seen? Oh, one of my other groups that I have, the medtech had burnt all their speed heals, burnt all their stems. They looked at the rest of the party and said, "Go find yourself a better doctor." Picked up the Solo's assault rifle, slammed the door shut while those guys were on their way out, and proceeded to auto fire down the door while I mowed him down. I was trying to keep it together while I did it. I wasn't laughing.
Yep. That shit it's hard. I mean, it's like, and this is where like I think GMing the game is immensely satisfying because you're going through the same emotional roller coaster your players are. Because at the end of the day, and we've talked about this before, but you as a GM are not against your players. You're not truly against them, right? You play the adversarial force, but that doesn't make you the enemy of your players. Far from it. If anything, you're the greatest cheerleader. Like, you really want them to succeed. But it is like, you have to play the enemy and in those scenes, and it's just as rough, I feel like, for us to portray that and do that to the players as it is to like have to like experience it for them, right? Because I think like I'm so lucky that I have not seen the death of one of my characters yet. I have never died in Cyberpunk, but I know that when I do, it's going to be like a tooth and nail fight, and it's going to be for something important, you know? And I know my GM that I play under usually, whether that be you, Diamond, or my IRL GM, both of you would probably be crying just as hard at my character's death as I'll be, you know? Like that's my goal, is to make sure that marks like hits when the time comes. So it's important.
I've never had dry eyes when I've killed a character. I want to make that very clear. I don't find joy in killing characters, but I know there is something important, which is another part of the struggle. When inevitably the struggle finally catches up with you. Finally, you know, you witnessed something. You were already like, you know, telling yourself, yeah, I'll go to therapy next week. Yeah, I'll go to therapy next week. Yeah, I'll go to therapy next week.
Just one more gig.
And then
just one more gig.
Oh, just one more gig. That's what I kept telling myself. But finally, you know, all it takes is you witnessing something, failing, you know, maybe failing a check, or maybe there's no check even given, that because you saw something so fucked up, or you did something so fucked up, that finally that 2d6 rolls and you go from your 10 humanity all the way to -2 humanity. It's lights out.
I think that, like, to look away from the tabletop briefly, there's a really in Edge Runners. There's a great scene. Those of you who have not seen it, I apologize. There's a spoiler for the plot that I need to give here. It's not the whole thing, but it's a pretty major point. So if you don't want to listen to this, this should be over in a few minutes. Those of you on YouTube, I'll put a timestamp, Diamond can put a timestamp down below. I'm going to give her work to do on this because it's her segment. But the main thing that I think drives that point home is when we see Maine start losing his mind. And there comes a point where David's trying to convince him, no, we can go, we can get out of here, we can be free, we just got to start running now. And Maine just says, done running, kid. I'm doing the only thing I can for Dorio, but you're good at running, so keep running.
Keep on.
And then he
running.
basically throws him out of the room as he literally explodes the room with him and the Max Tech agents after him. And it's that is pretty much how I think it'll be if I ever go truly cyber psycho with one of my characters. It's going to be a scene akin to that, where it's I am definitely not going to go quiet, and it's not going to be good. But yeah, I mean, you brush right up against the edge quite often there. So certain time comes, certain thing happens, bye-bye, screaming over the edge, and you have that one last moment of lucidity to make it count.
I mean, one of the parties had an encounter with Dia finally fucking losing it, because when Dia walked away from one red night, she was at 10 humanity. Something caused her to. Someone pissed her off the wrong way, and she flew off the handle. Luckily, she had a much more merciful hand catcher. But yeah, with oh gosh, what other terrible things have I seen? Oh, I guess also not just your own struggle, but also the struggle of the world around you. I mean, let alone tonight, what Snips witnessed, basically meeting Caroline, a woman, an office lady who comes back to the office to find out suddenly, she was a temporary worker who was, filling in, and suddenly she doesn't have a job anymore because somebody had to aerate her boss's thoughts. Thanks, Hyena.
I tried to warn him. He did. The fact he didn't listen isn't my fault.
And sometimes you need moments like that where it's not you struggling, but it's the victims of the collateral damage that you cause.
Well, there's that, and there's just the sheer when you mount that against the pressure of society as a whole, it creates that a really deep emotional impact, because you realize how short-sighted maybe the solution you had was, or even if it's not truly a short-sighted solution, but it was this is a necessary evil and it's necessary. There's absolutely the other side of that where you're there will be fallout, and there's nothing you could do to prevent that. And I think that scene really did illustrate there is fallout and we can't help it.
Yeah. I suppose one last thing that I've seen with the struggle before I hit one of the ultimate points I'd seen with another edge runner at a table. The struggle with one's own personal issues, whether that be the ex that keeps coming around, that just knows how to turn your turn your handles and push your buttons the wrong way, the enemy that just happens to, you can't kill them because if you do that it's going to cause worse things to happen, or where, you know, even when finally time comes around that, you know, that person that's, you know, done everything in the world for you growing up, it's time for you to return the favor, and it's not an easy one. Oh, Emmerron, did I tell you about that?
I don't know if you did.
Oh boy, I guess a little story time before I hit my last one. So, got a player at one of the tables I run IRL. She has an edge runner who is making money to try to save her ailing father.
It's a
Now,
good start.
Given, fun fact, Biotechnica has just the thing to make that happen. It's a wonderful little miracle drug called Serosine. All right?
Boy, Securicine's my favorite.
Yeah,
I love that drug. It's not at all used for bad things at all.
But you know, there's just one little problem. Somebody has been using it to do other things. So I need you and your crew to go deal with it.
Yep.
And you know, I could see the light in my player's eyes, like, oh my gosh, my character's gonna be able to save her father. You know, buy a few more years with them. I dropped the roof on them because they didn't catch, because you know what mission I'm talking about.
I do.
I dropped the roof.
I do. It's Jesus Christ.
The roof came tumbling down at 8d6 damage, and I rolled 6 6s. And unfortunately,
oh my god!
And unfortunately for her, she was the only one who failed her athletics check.
Oh my god! Holy shit! It's LCCF. Yeah, I mean, that's like, yeah, sometimes.
Because she,
like Neon Inferno on Monday, we had something kind of similar where assault rifle gonk pops off, hits the guy, 3 6s, 2 5s on an assault rifle shot. What are you gonna do?
Big pain.
Yep.
I mean, you could live through it, but it's going to hurt.
He did.
You're gonna need
but
some
they're just at the
recovery
start
time.
of the mission.
Shit.
They're the start of the mission. So they're not even done. Not even close. And this is their net runner that got that hit. So like
no, yeah. Hey, look, it's Nyla. He will win. All right, with that can-do attitude, he will win.
It's gonna be a fun little adventure down, one way or the other.
Like, you know, like this group at this table, like they you know, they were down there in the basement picking up the samples that they needed after cleaning house. And, you know, this chick, she was you know, small-time net runner, getting ready to, you know, hopefully make it out, because, you know, she figured out, you know, okay, Dorothy's no longer here. By the way, Claire, just to clarify, definitely not Kansas. They get their samples, they make their way up. The Solo makes it out. The Nomad makes it out. The Fixer makes it out. The Rocker Boy makes it out. And they're all just like, well, what about our Netrunner? No. I crushed that Netrunner right there, because she took quite a bit of damage already, poking around through a network that she shouldn't have been in. And guess who forgot her insulated wires?
Oh no.
Uh-huh. And you know, she was just going on, just like, yeah, We're going to be able to get the meds. We're going to save our, I'm going to be able to save father. I can, at least go do one more trip with him. It's going to be great, guys. I mean, I might be away for a little bit. But you know what? It's all going to be great because when he's gone, and that's when I set the bomb off.
Oh my God.
Right in the middle of her happy, excited, bubbly yapping. And all the players just kind of looked at me. I was just like, Dia, why the fuck would you do that? I'm just like, well, don't trust a corp. Well, what do you mean? They seemed reliable. Oh, yeah, they sure seemed like it, didn't they?
Yeah, they sure did. Operative word in that whole sentence is, they seemed like it. Yep. Sure seemed that way.
And then finally, Artie. Artie is a sign of what happens when the struggle has taken everything you have and you just don't have anything else left to lose. Artie was part of the same real life group that I was GMing for. Artie was short for artillery. So he used to be an artilleryman for Militech. Fantastic with heavy weapons. Militech decided to barge in and take it all. Their homes, because hey, that cargo park, that's like right in the perfect area for us to put up a new training facility. We'll just bulldoze it into the bay. These guys were already off to New Westbrook, and they were in New Westbrook for a little while working on a job. That they come home, it's all gone. Cargo containers dumped into the bay. Everything that they saved up under their pillows dumped into the bay. The Nomad's brand new Tsunami Arms Helix that they were going to install to their onto their vehicle once they finally got around to getting that heavy weapons mount. It's also sunk down into the bay. Artie had it. Artie had enough. Artie looked at the others and said, I will be back. And he got a bus from a fixer. And Artie is a tech in a solo and proceeded to make as much C9 as he could.
Oh shit. I half expected a punk knot, but that's almost better, honestly.
He built what was a punk knot before we had the punk knot.
Yeah, kind of sounds like it.
He armored this thing.
It reminds me of the what was it, the Killdozer?
That's exactly what he was going for, was the Killdozer.
I figured, yeah, it sounds very reminiscent of the Killdozer.
Put a combat plow on it, and he went straight to NorCal military base. Full fucking speed.
Oh my god.
Ducked and rolled as soon as he blew the gates. And this was a solo session between Artie and I, because the rest of the party was not going to be here for it. Artie killed quite a few Militech grunts as he was walking through there in his Metal Gear armor he rightfully earned. And well, he walked in there with an explosives vest full of C9 right into the admin building. Hugged the gas line. Fired and put all the grenades around to go off when he went off. Artie took 104 Militech personnel with him, according to the scream sheets. And that was from that blast. Though we don't know how many people the bus killed.
Holy shit.
Because apparently, I rolled to see like if the bus was going to get through the gate before it shut. The bus got through the gate I just never determined where the bus went after that. It blew up somewhere.
Dear God.
It could have been the barracks. Could have been somewhere else. But when the struggle takes everything away from you, you got nothing to lose. Why not throw it over? Why not throw yourself over the edge after it?
For legal reasons, we would like to remind you all this is a game that we are talking about, not an actual endorsement of these actions. Please, 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 please do not take a single fucking thing that we are telling you right now as advice or inspiration for any actual heinous act. Your life is important.
Yes.
Please contact professionals if you are having thoughts like this. Like,
I'm sorry if I set off alarm bells. I'm sorry. I'm just like, these are some great stories of what the struggle did to players. And
and I think that those stories deserve telling, but I feel it is appropriate at this juncture to reiterate, this is a show that we talk about a game called Cyberpunk RED. It is a game. It is a tabletop game. It is a game in which none of these acts are actually performed. So please, FBI man, if you are listening to our podcast right now, we promise you none of this is intended as advice, planning, or other kinds of collusion to do these things IRL. Thank you.
All right. But I think on that note, Emmerron, do you have any stories of what the struggle has done to your players before we move on?
Trying to think if there's any like really good ones that I haven't already told. I mean, I don't know that I have any that I haven't already kind of shared. There's a few that I'll like mention in brief, which are like, like my character 8-Bit, part of his story is that the Maelstrom came through and like killed his family. So for him, a lot of what he's been doing on the street, like even running nets and stuff, he's good humored about it most of the time, but like that's something where like he hasn't forgotten that this is the reason he doesn't have a family. So he definitely has a sense of like particular disdain for Maelstrom, and that's come into play a few times. Like way back when he was first created in a heavily homebrewed JSK campaign, because in the Jumpstart kit, we didn't have any advancement rules. We didn't know what it looked like when you leveled shit up. We didn't know how to even raise a rank. We had no rules for IP. None of these things existed. So we had to homebrew everything. And part of what we had happen is our fixer got kidnapped. We liked the guy. He was one of our neighbors, and we like actually gave a shit about him. And so we went after him. And this borged out dude who looked very Maelstrom dangled him out over the edge of like a 30-story skyscraper over the rooftop edge. And our solo succeeded at diving off after him and then using jump booster jets to land him back like 10 stories lower. And it really was like impressive. But then the second time that he did this, so we fight this guy to a standstill on the roof, and he's like, okay, I give up. And kind of like you were goading Uncle Larry tonight, he starts goading our solo like that. And our solo does not take this sitting down. He rises and takes the bait, and he grabs the guy, who proceeds to dive with him over the edge. Or no, he kills the borged out dude. One of the dude's henchmen has the balls to do something about it, tackles him, and they both go tumbling over the edge of the skyscraper, and he's unable to save himself before he hits the bottom. And that shit is what like broke him. And he didn't realize what would happen as a result of it. So he thought he could just intimidate his way out of it. And he just said, "What are you gonna fucking do?" And the guy answered by knocking him off the roof. So yeah, that's probably like the one I haven't told, is the story of how our solo mover got bodied off the top of a skyscraper in the middle of the Jumpstart Kit campaign.
All right. I think, though, we'll be moving on to part 2 over on Emmerron's channel YouTube, where we are going to be talking about some of the paid supplements, like where to start. Because honestly,
yep. Last week we talked about points of entry, and this one we're going through kind of the advanced end of that discussion.
So, Lord Jesus Crust, how would you convince a player coming from a safer game that actually Jesus? That is something I have. You know what? We'll put that in the Q&A.
That's what I was going to say. We'll add that to the Q&A. We'll answer that at the end for sure. So those of you who want to see LCC's question answered, come over to my channel. We'll be on the Q&A this week over there. So, but yeah, Diamond, if you want to, perfect. But yeah.
I don't know how you remember all of this, LMA. Oh, you have no idea, Connor. Connor mentioned, I don't know how you remember all of this. I wonder if that's in regards to your JSK campaign.
He's probably talking because he was one of the players at that table. Yeah, like I don't know. I've got a trap memory for certain things, especially things that leave like an emotional impact on me, because I didn't feel right for like 2 weeks after that till we got together again. I felt like really bad for the next like 2 weeks, because I was also mid-pandemic, so like the games were what I was living for, which is really weird. You know, like this game about oppression, I'm living to find the next game at the end of the next 2 weeks. Like that gave me a way to break up my time and the corporate drudgery of the time. So like that definitely was like hard to grapple with, that being the end of one of our sessions in the middle of all that. So it left a mark on me. That's how I track that. But yeah, we will be right back over on my channel. Well, for those of you watching this later on YouTube, we're going to be over my channel in a moment. Those of you here on Twitch, we will be just moving over to that other subject.